this is an artistic spiritual practice of the ancient culture. Okay, great. So the one thing that's very important when it comes to writing ads is being very clear, and assume that people don't know anything. Now, you may have people who are, into this kind of stuff, and they are, understand the language, but you need to make sure it's very clear. If something, a confused mind never makes a decision. So if something is not clear, they're just going to ignore it and keep going on. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So my first question to you is, so I love what you did here, where it talks about, it means children in the sun, and that second paragraph, I love that. That's something I'd love to read about. But the first 4 or 5 words is actually a little bit confusing to me, because you start out with, let me create a metaphor for you. So let's say that you just suddenly, you were cold calling me, and I pick up the phone and I say, hey, it's James, whatever. And the first words out of your mouth is, hey, I'm Sebastian. This is an authentic and spiritual practice of the ancient culture of, that word. My response would probably be, what is an artistic and spiritual practice of the ancient culture? Like, what is it you're talking about? And one thing that you could probably tweak a little bit more is this an actual painting, something you hang on the wall?
It's actually culture.
See, I didn't even know that. Okay. Yeah. So that probably would be a great distinction to make, would be, if somebody just approached you and said that line, would you know what that meant without knowing what this ad is about?
Okay, of course, that makes sense.
Right. So yeah, so if you could say, just rewording those first few words, this sculpture represents the artistic and spiritual practice of ancient culture, or something like that. That actually creates more tangibility. Like, I can actually put my hands and my mind around, okay, this is a sculpture. So, this is something that's, decorative, has a great history behind it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So just with that would be great. Now, so what does that mean? The spiritual practice of the ancient culture. I'm not going to try to say the word, but what is that? Is the practice making sculptures, or is it truly just representing the culture of these people?
Making the sculptures is part of their spiritual practices.
Oh, that's even better.
Basically, they go to the desert, they eat some peyote, and they create these things from their visions.
Wow. Okay. So they take some type of drug, and then they spend time out in the desert, and they start sculpting things together. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. They take a medicinal plant that's called peyote. They call it hikuri.
Okay. That's a cool story. I would definitely talk about that. And, if you want to avoid the drug using part, you can, but what you just said was way more compelling to me. It was, this is not just a sculpture. This is an artistic and spiritual practice. No, there is a spiritual and artistic practice of the ancient culture of, that word. This practice is a tradition of people going out to the desert and taking drugs, or whatever you want to call it, and literally spending days envisioning different things and handcrafting these, or whatever the right terms are, handcrafting these sculptures in a way that creates a truly original and inspired piece. And then you can kind of go into that story a little bit, and then you can say, the so-and-so means children of the sun. For them to become better artists, they have to protect what they hold most sacred, Mother Earth. And then if you want, you don't have to, but after that, you could say something to the effect of, this this inspired piece adds color to the room, or it might add artistic contrast to something to that effect. It kind of creates, again, more tangibility of, oh yeah, I could use that. I could see that being in my room. I could see that being in the living room. Does that make sense where I'm going with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Cool. Awesome.
I think that can work a lot. And yeah, it makes sense, like probably because we are so close to the culture, we could probably have gone one step backwards. Like take it one step before, right? Explaining that this is actually a sculpture and how it comes out of the pilgrimage. And for example, what I love about these guys is that they really enforce their culture. They don't really work with anyone if they are not doing their pilgrimage, because that's like something very important for them. So they only sell whatever they create if they support their community and their culture.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's even more information that I'd love to, whether I'm into sculptures or not. I love hearing that, because that provides the background, the history, and it's tangible. I can understand that there's a culture, there's a practice. It's sculpture. I can line up all the dots basically in my mind. So, yeah.
And actually, now that I also, that you helped me see it that way, also the call to action could be changed to something like come to our store and we'll invite you, we'll tell you all the stories about their tribe or culture or whatever.
Yeah. Another option could be also come experience deep culture and in tradition, something to that effect.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool.
Thank you for your help.
Absolutely.